video lecture we will be discussing on topic enumeration of microorganism in air. We have seen the 7 method for the enumeration of microorganism in the air. In that we had discussed about the topic impingement in the liquid, impaction on solid surfaces, filtration and sedimentation in the earlier videos. In this video lecture we will see the last 3 remaining method, that is centrifugation, electrostatic precipitation and the last, that is thermal precipitation. So let's get started. First, that is centrifugation. As we know that centrifugation, the centrifuge that works on the principle that is centrifugal forces. The sampler of this type that work on the principle that is centrifugal force. When the air moves in a circular direction at a high speed, the suspended particles are impacted onto the collecting surfaces by the force proportional to the particle velocity and the mass. Okay, this is what the principle of the centrifuge. Centrifuge work on the principle of centrifugal force. Whatever the air moves in a circular direction, at a high speed, air containing some of the suspended particle that will get impact onto the surface of the collecting vessels according to their mass and the velocity. There are 2 types of centrifuge. The first type of centrifuge is the sampler remains stationary while the aerosol travel in a circular path. Okay, the first type, there are the 2 types of centrifuge. Okay, first type, in that the sampler, whatever the holding sample, that remains stationary. The holding sample for the centrifuge that remains stationary, whereas the aerosol travel in a circular path. The aerosol, whatever the coming air, that will travel in the circular path. The larger particle being collected at the bottom, the larger due to some of the gravitational forces and according to the mass and the velocity, they will collect on the bottom of the sampler. So this is the first type of centrifuge. Second type, another type, the collecting vessel and the aerosol rotate at a high speed. Here both the collecting vessel of the centrifuge and the aerosol, whatever the air, that is rotate at a high speed, resulting in the impaction of the particle on the wall. Okay, result what happen, what both are rotating at a high speed. So the incoming air that will impact onto the surface of the wall and then it gets settled down. The scientist named Well in 1933 utilized the later type 2. He utilized the later type 2. This one, it has been utilized for the separation of particle from the air. For the enumeration of microorganism due to the centrifuge method, he had used the later type 2. For that, what he had taken? He had taken the 12 sample tube, each containing the fluid state medium or melted agar. Okay, he had taken the 12 centrifuge tube. Okay, 12 sample tube. In that he had added the melted agar or melted broth, you can say. Then what happened? Then the tubes were inserted into the centrifuge and current switched on. Okay, then what he had done, after adding the melted agar or just nutrient broth, he had inserted that tube, that centrifuge tube, into the centrifuge and then he had on the switch of this instrument. The incoming air is mixed with the melted agar. Okay, whatever the coming air, okay, that will mixed with the agar medium or the N broth. The medium is separated as a thin film on the wall. It will form the film on the wall of this centrifuge tube, of the sample tube, by the centrifugal force of rotation, due to the centrifugal force of the rotation. The organisms are deposited in the agar film. Okay, the organisms are deposited onto the agar film and after incubation we can count the colonies. So this is what all about the centrifugation. Okay, this is centrifugation of this type is a simple to operate and we can quickly manipulate and potable. Okay, it is a very simple method. All the testing is carried out in a one step, we can say. Just we have to remember in the centrifuge, that is, it's based on the principle that is the centrifugal forces, and whatever the air coming in a circular direction at a high speed, the suspended particle that will impact onto the collecting surfaces by the force proportional to the particle velocity and the mass. And there are the two type of centrifuge. The first type we have seen and the second type. Okay, but here the scientist named Weil, he has utilized the later type too. In that he had taken the 12 sample test tube of the centrifuge tube, and he had added the melted and agar. Okay, after adding that, and he had put into the centrifuge, and current were switched on. After that, whatever the incoming air, that will impact onto that, and it will form a thin film surrounding the tube, and after that we have to incubate that, and after that we have to count the colonies, and all the testing is carried out in a single step. Now we will see the second type, that is electrostatic precipitation. Sampler using this method collect particle by drawing air over an electrically charged. Okay, here some of the electrically charged we are using, and through which we enumerate the microorganism which is present in the air. Just the things that we have to remember is this figure. Okay, the sampler which containing, this is the sampler which containing or just holding two petri dishes. Here there is a petri dish, it is a petri dish, it is holding two petri dishes in a two separate plastic units. This is the two separate, this is the first one, this is the second one. Okay, that is a two separate plastic unit with a removable cover is that. We can remove this cover. Okay, the sampler, this is the sampler. Okay, this is entire is the sampler that will hold the two petri dishes. It is holding two petri dishes. Okay, with a removable covers, and there is a two different plastic unit. This is the two different plastic units, and here you can see there is the blower is there. Okay, a small electrically operated blower is there that will draw air, that will remove the air outlet. Okay, that will remove the air at equal rates through the two units. Whatever the air coming from these two units, okay, that will remove through this blower. It is in electrically operated, and it will remove the air. Okay, draw the air outwards. Okay, one unit here, if I discuss about, suppose this is the first unit. Okay, it has a lower electrode. This is the lower electrode. Okay, it is made up of metal base. It is a metal base which is of negative charge. Okay, this is of negative charge. Okay, and that metal cone here you can see, this is the metal cone is there which is of positively charged. Okay, in one unit there lower electrode, or you can say the metal base or the lower electrode you can say, which is of negative charged. Okay, and the metal cone which is of positive charge. Whereas in the another unit, that is the second unit, there electrode, lower electrode, or you can say that metal base, it is made up, it is of positively charged, and metal cone, here you can say the metal cone which is of negatively charged. Both this unit 1 and the unit 2, they are you can simply say that the condition is reversed from the first. Okay, suppose here it is a negative, here it is a positively, here it is positive, here it is negative. One unit is condition is reversed to the second. Okay, simply we can say. Just normally what happen in this, we know that both positively and the negatively charged organisms are there that exist in the air simultaneously. Okay, those organisms which is of having the positively charged, okay, those microorganisms having the positively charged are collected onto the petri dish. They will collect on the petri dish placed over the negative electrode, and those microorganisms having the negatively charged, microorganisms which are present in the air, those having the negatively charged, they will collect onto the petri dish which is placed over the positive electrode. Okay, this is what the fundamental of the electrostatic precipitation. That is what? Here the air coming, okay, the air, if in the air, if there is a positive charge microorganism is there, that will get attracted towards the negative electrode, okay, and if the microorganisms in that, it is negatively charged microorganism, they will collect onto the positive electrode, okay, and this blower will remove the excess air, okay, air outlet, it will remove the excess air, draw on the air. So this is what all about the electrostatic precipitation, okay. Just the thing that we have to remember, that is, there is the that is a two holding petri dishes are there, holding petri dishes, in that there is a two separate plastic units are there, okay, and with a removable cover is there, okay, and there is a blower is there that will remove the air, and then we have to discuss about this positive and the negatively charged, in that both the conditions are different, okay. If here it is a negatively charged, in the second unit it will be the positively charged, and the organisms are in the air are the both positive and the negative charged microorganisms are there in the air, they will attract opposite to those things, okay. Last type, that is thermal precipitation. Sampler of this type collect the particle onto the surface by means of thermal gradient. Here the thermal means related to the heat, okay. Airborne particles are repelled onto the hotter surfaces, okay, whatever there is the hot surfaces are that get repelled, they will get repelled from the hotter surfaces, and that will deposit onto the colder surfaces, where there is a cold surfaces are there, okay, there will be the thermal gradient. One side there will be the hotter surfaces, and the another side there will be the colder surfaces, okay. Whatever the air coming from that, microorganisms will repel from the hotter surfaces, and it will get deposited onto the colder surfaces by the force proportional to the temperature gradient, okay, due to the temperature gradient, okay. Since such sampler require the careful adjustment, okay, this type of sampler require the very careful adjustment, and the air sampling rate is quite slow. Sampling rate of the air is quite slow, so they are not commonly used. This thermal gradient are not used compared to the other 6. This is what all about the enumeration of microorganism in the air.